39 people drank poisoned applesauce and lay down to die together, and they recorded it all. March 26, 1997, San Diego, a mansion in Rancho Santa Fe. Police found them in two groups, arranged on beds with purple shrouds pulled over their bodies. Some still clutched $20 bills in their hands, bus fare, they believed, for the spacecraft waiting just beyond the Hale-Bopp comet. I've studied the police logs, the photographs. What strikes you isn't the horror of the scene, it's how deliberate it was, how methodical, how utterly convinced they'd been. But this didn't start with cyanide and applesauce. It started, like most cults do, with a man who'd convinced himself he was something more than human. Marshall Applewhite, known to his followers as Do. In the 1970s, he was a music teacher in Texas with a troubled past, psychiatric hospitalizations, a failed marriage, a yearning for transcendence he couldn't find in the churches around him. Then he met Nettles, a nurse, a woman equally obsessed with UFOs, reincarnation, and the idea that they were chosen beings, that they were in fact aliens trapped in human bodies. Together in 1975, they founded a group they called Human Individual Metamorphosis. The message was simple: the world is ending, a spacecraft is coming, we can help you escape. Hundreds joined in those early years. They abandoned families, jobs, possessions. They moved into communes and waited. The spacecraft never came. Nettles died in 1985, cancer. Applewhite told followers she'd simply left her container and was waiting for them on the other side. He was their sole connection to the kingdom of heaven now. By the 1990s, Applewhite had refined his theology. Hale-Bopp comet was coming. He'd seen the truth in the heavens, and there was one way, the only way, to board the spacecraft. Renounce the body, renounce human existence. Exit the container, that's the language they used, not death, exit. In the final months, the group was down to about 40 members. Aging, isolated, living in that mansion, spending hours online in chat rooms, still recruiting, still waiting. Applewhite recorded dozens of videotapes, manifestos really, sitting in his room, speaking directly to the camera. Calm, rational, explaining why what they were about to do made perfect sense. The final video exists. I've watched it. Most people haven't. It's uncomfortable to sit with. Members take turns speaking. They're not frantic, not desperate. They're matter of fact, grateful even. They talk about their relief, about finally leaving this world behind. Some smile. On March 23rd, the first group prepared. They'd arranged everything with precision. Phenobarbital mixed into applesauce, vodka to wash it down, plastic bags over their heads once they lay down to accelerate the process. One member, a man named Wayne, walked through the house beforehand, making sure everyone was comfortable, making sure no one had changed their mind. They died in shifts. The first group lay down on their beds, covered themselves with purple shrouds, and waited for the poison to work. Hours later, another group repeated the ritual. Then another. By March 26th, when the first 911 call came in, an anonymous tip, they were already gone. All 39 of them. Applewhite was among them. He'd taken the poison hours before the final group. He'd left a note: I am satisfied with my exit, not despair, not coercion, satisfaction. That's what haunts me about this case. These weren't people forced at gunpoint. They'd made a choice so absolute, so final, that it reframed everything we thought we understood about free will and manipulation. The media called it mass suicide. Authorities called it a murder-suicide. But the members themselves never used those words. In their final statements, they spoke of graduation, of leaving the human level, of boarding a spacecraft piloted by beings who'd been watching them their entire lives. They weren't escaping life. They were escaping the illusion of life. What made Heaven's Gate different from Jonestown or other cults wasn't the outcome. It was the clarity. Jonestown was chaos, forced at gunpoint, coerced, desperate. Heaven's Gate was choreographed, deliberate. Each member had months to walk away. None did. That distinction matters because it forces us to confront something uncomfortable: how vulnerable our minds really are to the right narrative. Applewhite had spent 20 years perfecting his theology. He'd read science fiction, studied theology, absorbed internet culture. He wove together the language of computers, exiting the system, upgrading the hardware with genuine spiritual longing. For members who felt alienated from society, who'd never quite fit, he offered something radical, a reason for that alienation. You don't belong here because you're not from here. The Hale-Bopp comet was real. It passed in 1997. It was visible to the naked eye for months. Applewhite had pointed to it as proof, and when it arrived, his followers didn't lose faith. They accelerated their timeline. The spacecraft must be here. The exit must be now. Belief had become unfalsifiable. No amount of evidence could shake it. Police found their computer equipment still running. email accounts still open. Some members had left goodbye messages in chat rooms, still trying to recruit. Even in death, even after they'd exited, they were still missionaries, still convinced that what they'd done would inspire others to follow. The final video, the one Applewhite recorded just days before, was released by the group themselves. They wanted the world to understand, they wanted to be heard. Even in their final act, they were performing for an audience. And that's perhaps the most disturbing element of all. They didn't die in secret, they documented it, they wanted us to know. Today, the mansion still stands in Rancho Santa Fe. It's been renovated, families live there now. The case closed decades ago, but the questions it raised about belief, about isolation, about how conviction can calcify into certainty, those remain unsettled. Heaven's Gate wasn't an anomaly, it was a mirror. It showed us how far a human mind can travel when it finds the right map. Subscribe, there's a new documented cult investigation every week. Cases that rewrote how we understand belief and influence.